All right. Welcome to the first live edition of the Podium Proof F1 podcast. My name is Frank Alessi.
And I'm David Alessi.
What a British Grand Prix we had this weekend at Silverstone. Carlos Sainz takes his maiden pole and his first win, but Ferrari still seemed to screw the pooch. Mercedes looked in solid form, and Red Bull had a rough race despite a second place for Checo. Let's get it.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our first live stream show. This is, it's kind of been I shouldn't say a long time coming, but, this has been the plan for a while now. Since we started this thing, we were kind of gearing towards getting to this, trying to get, more of a open format discussion going, not necessarily just trying to be a news recap style show or podcast. So, hopefully y'all enjoy this and, we can keep this thing rolling. We can hopefully capitalize on the boom that F1 has been in the States here and try to help push this along a little bit, bring some new people in, and hopefully for the longtime fans, it'll be a little bit different from what the usual podcasts are, and hopefully y'all enjoy it. Let us know. There's a QR code down there at the bottom left, and that'll bring you to our link tree, which that'll give you all of our social media everywhere the podcast is. So feel free to scan that and find us. Feel free to reach out to us, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, DMs, let us know what you think. So without further ado, let's get into this week's episode, which was Silverstone, the British GP. It was a hell of a race. It was it was exciting, man, from
Unbelievably exciting race.
start to finish. It was awesome. And not to backtrack too much, but also do us a favor and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. That'll help to push us up a little bit in the old YouTube algorithms there, and hopefully get some more people here and make this a little bit bigger. More people we can get, more people we can get interacting. Hopefully we can make this a lot of fun. So bottom right, hit that subscribe button and help us grow this thing. So back to Silverstone. Man, so a lot happened at the beginning. I mean, right as the lights went out, it was on, and we've all seen the pictures. We've all seen what happened there. Thank goodness Joe has come away unscathed, because that was a hell of a wreck, man. That was pretty intense. There was a lot of things that happened there that I think we're going to be seeing some changes coming because of all that. So we'll get into a little bit of that, but let's talk about some scotch. I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna change it up tonight. I'm gonna go with some scotch.
You did decide to go with the scotch.
I did. I probably won't be drinking it all night, but I'll start with it. And I'm going with, this is the Balvenie 12-year double wood, which is
Killer.
It's incredible. So it's finished in its regular whiskey casks, and then it's transferred and finished in or I shouldn't say it's finished in it's aged in its original whiskey casks, Then it switched over and finished in sherry casks. And I'll tell you, like, I was not a Scotch person, and I never actually thought that a Scotch could taste like this, but I freaking love it. And this
they're
one
awesome.
and this one comes in at, what is this? Where's the damn proof on it? Oh, shit, right there at the bottom right. What was that? 86 proof. So nothing crazy, which I don't think, again, not being a Scotch person, I don't think Scotch is generally all that high of proof. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They do have some cask strength stuff. It is not nearly as common as like in a bourbon or something like that. Most of it is typically 100 or lower from what I have dabbled in. But, it's Scotch isn't really, in my opinion, from what I've learned about the proof, as much as a lot of the bourbon stuff is.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, just the nose on this is insane.
Yeah.
And
So
I've heard that because they also have a 17-year double wood.
yes.
And I've heard that it's actually not quite as good.
Really?
Now, it's not like I've heard that from a ton of people. It's it's one person specifically that I know that has it, and I got to asking him about it because after having this, when I saw the 17, I kind of put that on my radar. But he's a pretty big Scotch person, and he told me, he was like, man, to be honest with you, I'll take the 12 over the 17.
Well,
Now
you
a
got
lot
to
of it's
take it too
personal preference,
because,
right?
well, not only that, but the 17 is a significant jump in price.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
you
yeah.
kind of taking that into consideration too when you're comparing the two.
Yeah, no doubt.
But all right, for me,
Yeah.
I'm
What
gonna
you
be
breaking
sipping on
out?
something I've been hanging on to for a little while, and I've never had it before. It is Elmer T. Lee.
Ooh.
I got a good buddy of mine that got a bottle for his birthday and was generous enough to give me a sample bottle.
That's a good friend.
So this will be my first time ever trying it.
Nice.
So let's see here. Yeah, it's it's one of those unicorn bourbons that a lot of people, including myself, will probably never see or own a bottle of unless you get insanely lucky. But it is, I don't know if it's supposed to be anything special, really. It's just it's one of those bottles that became and generated almost like a cult following over the last, I don't know, 9 years or so.
Well, it helps, and it's
Helps when you've
probably
when you've won every award known to man.
yeah. Well, that and I mean it comes from Buffalo Trace, right? So, man, it could honestly be shit bourbon, but if they limit the number of bottles out there and it comes from Buffalo Trace, it's
No.
probably gonna get that unicorn status.
Yeah, I mean it's only 90 proof, but let's give it a whirl here. Tastes like a Buffalo Trace. It's really good. It's nothing. I don't know. It's really good. Really, really good. But I mean,
not
in
like
my opinion, is it worth chasing down and paying, $800-900 like you'll see it, or maybe $400 or $500 on the secondary market. Nah.
Not a knock your socks off kind of thing.
No, not really.
Looks like old Pupper's there getting some love.
Yeah,
getting some attention.
Fireworks going off. She's not digging it.
Yeah.
But right. Let's get into Silverstone, man. Where do you want to start? I feel like we got to start at the start with Mr. Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. And to start with, well, and not only Joe. I mean, the spotlight was on Joe. That was a horrific crash. But let's not forget that Albon had a pretty substantial crash there as well. I mean, he did a header into the pit wall.
Yeah, no doubt.
He was also transported to the hospital afterwards.
He was brought to the actual hospital by helicopter.
Yeah. Joe did go to the hospital, but he was not choppered over there. But yeah, let's start with the wreck with Joe. And let's call it how it is. Gasly was not at fault there. He did not clip Russell. There was a gap that he was attempting to go up, and that gap very, very quickly started to close down on him. So he made the smart move and tried to back out of it, and there just wasn't enough time. He was backing out as George was coming left and came across him. And then we all saw what happened after that. He tags, his wheel contacts the rear of Joe and sent him flying.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, Gasly went for the gap, which was clearly there. And, I mean, Russell just decided to come over. I don't think he was trying to cover Gasly. I think he was kind of just starting to set up for the turn, but it was really weird because it looked like he was in his mirrors from the onboard shot.
He was constantly in his mirrors. You could see him looking in that left mirror. I don't know if he just kind of misjudged, where Pierre was, or, did he think that if he started coming over that Gasly was going to be able to get out the way quick enough? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know those mirrors aren't exactly known for being, great.
No, they're not. That's for sure. Yeah. So man, after the contact between Russell and Joe's car instantly gets kicked up and flips over and starts sliding across the tarmac. After a few seconds, and here's the scary part. After a few seconds of it sliding, the main roll bar on the car came off. So at that point, the halo was the only thing that was saving Joe. I mean, and you can see it here. You can see in this picture right here, you can see the angle of the car, the way the rear is pitched down lower. That roll bar is gone.
Right.
And I do know that Alfa Romeo, I don't know if they're the only one or if they're just one of the few that are running the single roll bar instead of the triangulated.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to think that after that happened, I think we're going to see some changes, not necessarily in what type you have to run, more so just on how strict they become on the testing of it.
Right.
And then Yeah, and then once he hit the gravel, man, he went for a little bit, and man, that's got to be terrifying, sliding upside down like that in the gravel. I mean, that had to be painful in itself, just all the gravel flying up inside the cockpit.
I know. I'm curious to see like what kind of speed he was doing when he actually hit the gravel after sliding upside down on the asphalt for that long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, aside from that, the way that he kind of caught and jumped the tire barrier was, I mean, we haven't seen crashes like that in decades in F1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it actually it dug in and it started flipping before that. Like it was already flipping. I think it might have flipped once or twice
Mm-hmm.
already. And then when it hit the tire wall, it was kind of already in midair of another flip. And that's kind of what just catapulted it up over into the fence. And then
I mean, that's stuff you used to see back in the day kind of regularly.
Yeah.
But you know, nowadays it's one of those things, man, where you don't really, I guess, really with these giant cars, you really don't see those barrel roll crashes like you used to.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I mean and then, you know, where he landed, he was pinned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the only thing yet again that saved him there we can see it right here. The only thing that saved him there was that halo.
Yeah, God,
You know,
that's an insane picture.
Man, dude, it's the same feelings come back time and time again looking at that picture. Like it's just it's amazing how he came out of that more or less unscathed.
Right. I know.
You know, and I mean, you can, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to look at it, and you know, because your first instinct of seeing a picture like that is not good. You know.
Yeah, no doubt, man. How about George Russell jumping out the car and hightailing it over there?
I've got mixed emotions on that.
I know.
I commend George on, you know, after seeing that happen right in front of him. I commend him on wanting to see that Joe was okay after something so horrific. On the flip side of that, as a driver, you know, there's nothing he could have done.
Well, you know what? You say that, but I disagree. There's I forget exactly when it was, but there's a time, there was a race where somebody had a really bad crash. I forgot who it was, but Senna came around the corner and like right behind the crash. And this guy was knocked out, and Senna jumps out the car. The car had come to a stop. Senna jumps out the car, runs over there, and turns off the car because it was stuck on. He was knocked out, and the throttle was pegged.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a fan. Look, I saw a fan, like a thing shot with an iPhone, a video shot
from
with an
like
iPhone.
The front row right there.
And that car, and that car was still on. You know, Russell said the race was already red flagged by the time he got out the car.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's any danger in that regard.
No. Mm-hmm.
You know, who's to say he's not more, if something like that is going on, he's going to be probably more able to do something about it than a marshal.
I mean, the cars have emergency shutoffs that
not if you can't, you know, yeah, but like
the marshals know where they are. You know,
they're not on the floor.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, if it was something like where, like with Senna, you know, where the car was right there, you know, like I said, man, I commend Russell for his attempt and his desire to check on him. But with where the car was, there wasn't much he was going to be able to do. But at the end of the day, human instinct kicks in, and you want to try to help.
Absolutely.
And you want to make sure the guy's okay.
We got Apple Juice said true sportsmanship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Putting Joe first. Man, I think there's something to be said about that. And they got a lot of these stories coming out about Russell. Callum Illett actually put out a tweet earlier today saying that the first time he ever flipped a cart back in his karting days, Russell saw it and like he was pinned underneath upside down in the cart. Russell saw it and pulled off the road and took it off of him and flipped him back upright and got it off of him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just something that, whether he could have done anything in this situation or not, it's just his instinct to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his car was off, and I get it. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. The marshals are there and they are trained for that. And that is their specific role. But yeah, nonetheless, the idea was there to try to help,
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll commend him on that. And then he tries to get back in his car, Russell does, and he can't get it restarted. That kind of started a whole bit of controversy during the red flag. He tried to get his car started, couldn't. So it then gets put on the flatbed and brought back. And there was a bit of controversy with why he wasn't able to restart the race. So what it comes down to is if the car doesn't come back under its own power, if it has to get touched to be brought back, that's it. Race over.
Yeah. And he was saying that he was telling the marshal, do not put the truck on the flatbed. I mean, do not put the car on the flatbed.
Yeah, I did hear that. He told him that, to not touch it. And yeah, maybe he could have got on the radio and they could have walked him through something,
Mm-hmm.
We'll never know at this point, but from the marshal standpoint, there's a disabled car, if there's a team of marshals that they're working on Joe and, there's other guys that are going to go tend to Russell's car. Their job is to get the track cleaned and back to green flag racing as quick as possible, So right, exactly. If there's a car stranded there, they're going to get it off. They're not going to sit around and wait for however long for him to try to get it, get back in the car and all that. Now, the other thing, which actually I just thought about, he unbuckled and jumped out the car. These drivers, they cannot belt themselves into the car. There is not enough room. So what did he plan to do? I mean, granted, yes, it was red flag. If he got back in, got it restarted, he was going back to the pits and then he had been getting out anyway. But nonetheless, he was planning on being on track, just not even belted in, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought about that. And obviously he didn't think about that before he jumped out the car.
No, I'm just saying that kind of looking back, we've had over a day to kind of process and think about all these things, right? In the heat of the moment, I highly doubt that's anything he thought of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we can come up with all kind of different things. Well, I bet he didn't think about this or think about that. Well, no, of course he didn't in the heat of the moment.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so then all the meanwhile, the wreck with Albon happened all at the same time. And that was all being tended to as well, which didn't really get shown much. And that was one of the other things, nothing really got shown on TV for quite some time. And for those that aren't aware, last year, was it last year or
2 years ago?
2 years ago now. Wow. It's been 2 years already.
Yeah. Well, yeah. 2020.
2 years ago when Romain Grosjean had his bad wreck and was not pinned in the car. He was for a second, but he went between the barriers and got wedged in the guardrail, and the car caught on fire. They were showing that on the TV and showing it live and showing replays. Meanwhile, nobody really knew his condition. The drivers are seeing that, and after that, it was made a rule that until they know that the drivers are okay, they will not be showing any of it.
Mm-hmm. I like that personally because
I do too.
For the longest time, man, they show these crashes with these guys that are unconscious and their head just sitting there, and like it's one thing for us to see that, but like these guys' wives and kids are watching, and it's just it's not good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm glad they did that.
No, I am too. I agree.
But all right, let's move on to some positive stuff.
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz gets his first ever pole and win.
Yep.
Kind of came out of nowhere. To grab that pole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did.
And then in the race, looked like the first start happens and Max got him, but red flag comes out because of the crash in the first corner, and then it's back to the original starting order. And boy, did he get his elbows out on that second start. But to be fair, Max had changed tires. Carlos didn't make a particularly bad start on that first one. He was on mediums. Max decided to go on softs. But after the red flag, Max put on the mediums and got a little better start, but Carlos wasn't having any of it.
Mm-hmm. No, man.
I think he's determined to get through turn one first.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. He absolutely was. Absolutely. Yeah, he squeezed Max there on the start.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was he wasn't playing around. There was no Mr. Nice Guy, like kind of what we've seen in the past, where he doesn't really have that aggression that you see with Charles.
Yeah.
But man, he did it.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
he was there.
Yeah. Oh, and then we get around to, what was that, turn 1, 2, 3, turn 4. And went 4 wide through turn 4. So you've got Sainz, Max. What was it going? No, well, kind of on the outside. You had Max, Sainz, Checo, and Leclerc. And it was like all three of them, Leclerc, Checo, and Sainz, all at the same time decided, man, look, the inside's wide open. I'm going to go left and get the inside of this one. And dude, I mean, 4 wide through that turn looks a little something like that. And you can see Leclerc ended up getting just about up on that sausage curb, and that is what caused him to lose that end plate off of his front wing. And Checo as well had a broken end. I think it was just the end plate, which he had then come in to fix.
Yeah, his was a lot worse off than Leclerc's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Leclerc's. I think Leclerc's broke off very shortly after. I think Checo's was still just kind of flapping for a bit.
mhm.
So at that point, you kind of run the risk of, all right, let's figure out a way and let's get them in, or they're going to meatball flag us and make us come in when we don't want to.
At an unopportune time.
Right, right. So they got him in, and that shuffled him way back. And dude, he put his nose down and just started plugging away laps. And then he's right there back up in the mix at the end.
Well, the way that safety car came out, because he was fixing to tumble down the order because he was going to have to pit again.
Yeah. No, the safety car helped him.
He got that safety car pit stop and just absolutely was a blessing for his race.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he'd have probably wound up somewhere maybe right in front of Max after his pit stop. Right around Max.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit further up, but definitely not in contention for a podium.
No. You take the safety car. Well, I mean, a lot of things would have been different. You take the safety car out, but yeah, Checo would not have been where he was for sure.
Yeah. And as good as Ferrari looked in this race, they still found a way to screw it up when they should have had a 1-2.
Yep.
It's unforgivable, dude.
Dude, the time and time again, their strategists, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Bro, it was a safety car. They had enough of a gap to where if they pitted Leclerc, the only person that if they didn't pit behind them that could come out ahead was Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wouldn't have pitted and took the track position, he'd have been a sitting duck.
Yep.
So what are you doing? And you had a big enough gap between Charles and Carlos to pit both of them on the same lap.
Yep. They could have both came in, and it wouldn't really have even been a double stack. I mean, it would have been.
There was a big enough gap to get him in and out without anybody holding up anybody.
Yep.
Just an absolute shit show from their strategists again.
Yep. They had a 1-2 in the bag.
Yep.
And shit the bed and let it go. I mean, it's really all there is to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's embarrassing for them at this point. How many? I mean, strategies cost Charles, 3? At least 2 wins now.
Mm-hmm. At least 2.
Monaco and here.
Yep.
It's not good, man. It's a terrible look. And I don't know what Mattia was telling Charles when he got out the car, but if I was Charles, I'd have been pointing that finger at him.
Oh, dude, he was, and I think what was suspected, which I'm sure it probably is the case, it was suspected that he was telling him, look, you cannot badmouth the team, keep it diplomatic, blah, 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 which he did. And you could tell it was all forced,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could see it in his face, but you could tell he kind of struggled to come up with as diplomatic a response as he did.
Right.
Oh, well, we saw Mattia talking to you afterwards. What was he saying to you? Oh, he just came to cheer me up.
I love Jensen. Jensen's response. All my friends cheer me up with a finger in my face.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we know damn good and well that wasn't a cheering you up.
I haven't gone back and listened, but it was I would like to hear his cool down lap radio message.
I did listen to it, and it was letting some of his frustration out, with the situation.
What he
And
said, what he told
saying
him.
it was something along the lines of, the amount of race time that we gave up was, I forget exactly how I phrased it, but more or less, it was like the amount of race time we gave up was inexcusable. But then he did switch gears and say, look, I don't want to take away from Carlos, on his win. So I think that was kind of like a, we'll talk later kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Well,
but
the
yeah,
fact
man.
of the matter is, you can't leave this up to the drivers. If Ferrari wants to win a championship, they need to make decisive and stern decisions in the moment. And when they need to make clear to their drivers, when we give an order, it is to be followed or there will be severe consequences.
Yeah.
However, that never happened. There was no, like, even when you, towards the end, when you were talking about Carlos, when they asked him to back up the pack, he's like, guys, that's putting me in a bind. They didn't answer him.
No.
When he's like, please don't make me do this. This is going to put us in a bind. If they don't answer him, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to do what he was asking to do. You tell him, listen, do what we say. Period. Like, it'll be fine. Just give us a 10-car gap. And he'd have probably done it, because earlier in the race, when he was still looking at his first win, he let Charles by.
He did.
With no problem. He was like, give me one more lap to try and hit the mark, and he didn't. And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
Simple.
Going back to at that point when they did flip him. Now, what we don't know is what's the delay, when we hear the radio transmissions and when they actually came out, right? We don't always get the same order or the timing, but dude, they came over the radio and they told, or no, it wasn't right then. They told, I'm trying to think now, because there was two separate times. Regardless, at one point they told Charles, hey, y'all are free to fight. And then they told Carlos, hey, if you don't hit the mark, we're going to flip y'all. And then, it was a little bit later that we heard the message anyway, when they told Charles, hey, we've told Carlos, if he doesn't hit the mark, y'all go ahead and flip. So it's like, dude, what are y'all doing? Are they just free to fight it out themselves, or are you gonna take control of it and tell them what to do?
Dude, look, I'm sorry.
Because then before, it was earlier. It was earlier in the race when Charles wanted to get by, and they told Carlos to pick up the pace, and he did actually. He picked up and was hitting the target laps that they wanted him to.
Right. But look, I'm sorry, dude. I don't think that's a situation where they should have been free to fight. Not legitimately fight each other. You're staring at a 1-2 in the face, and you're going to let your drivers duke it out when you desperately need these points? That is stupid. That's dumb. That's ridiculous team management. And if that runs up to Mattia, then, like, I don't know what to say. That is ridiculous. Because you got Max on the back foot. You got Checo trying to drive through the back, which at this point he's way off. Like he's essentially a non-factor.
Yep.
And all you have to deal with is Hamilton, who, if you get your shit together, should not be an issue.
Yeah, you play your strategy right, and
you essentially just pull a strategy that allows him to hang in there the whole time. Like, dude, let Charles is clearly much faster and has a lot more pace in the car. Let him go.
More pace with a broken wing at that.
Yeah, let him go. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. Like, I get it's Carlos's first win, but we're not going to make our drivers fight each other when we know Charles is much faster and risk one or both of them taking each other out. Or we're even, like, not worst case scenario, but you're allowing Hamilton to stay in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're allowing him to keep closing you down because of this nonsense.
Yeah, you let them fight it out, and they're going to be fighting it out at the places it's going to cost them more time.
When it's crucial timing coming up to the pit stops.
Yep.
I mean, just
again,
ridiculous, dude.
Yet again, displaying how Ferrari is dropping the ball time and time again.
They are not
decision making.
They are not ready to win a championship.
Well, they keep doing stuff like this, and they're not going to have to worry about that because they're not going to. I mean,
well, but the thing is, they have the driver and they have the car that's capable of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Even despite their issues with the engine, had they not botched all of these strategy calls, they're still in a position very tight in the championship with Max.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's sickening, man, for a team like Ferrari to look like this is their first year in F1.
Oh, dude, it's they look like complete rookies. Mm-hmm.
You know, and look, here we go again. Red Bull has some adversity, and they play their cards perfectly.
Yep.
And Checo winds up second.
Mm-hmm.
Second.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. He was nobody even talked about him all race.
No, he was.
And then all of a
non-issue.
sudden, you're sitting there looking, you're like,
holy crap, he's in this.
Oh my God. He's sitting there in fourth behind the safety car. He's going to be a problem for the Ferraris.
Yeah, he definitely was a problem for the Ferraris. That's for sure. I mean,
but man, last thing on Ferrari. If anybody was questioning Leclerc, look at what he was able to do on a set of old, beat-up, hard tires versus Lewis Hamilton and Checo Perez, and then Fernando Alonso on some fresh softs.
Yeah.
That is stunning.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, that dude put on a clinic of how to lay down some laps on old, worn-out ass tires.
And just how
to drive and how to race.
We are racing, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Until he gets pushed off track following that, you know, and then it kind of all went down the drain. But
yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, dude.
Checo was allowed to keep that position.
It really was. I mean, he is, and right there, that picture does not show how far off track he was. Like, he was not riding those curbs on the inside the whole way. He was way out. And that was him coming back and then shoots right back across the track and pushes Leclerc off.
Right.
And Leclerc loses 2 positions. Checo lost the 1 to Lewis, you know, and Yeah, no investigation necessary. I mean, I think that was complete BS. Checo should have been made to give the position back right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, simple. He'd have
he,
probably got him again, but then it
he
would have
probably
been
would
put to
have.
bed.
And the thing about it is, like, yeah, they both went off track. Leclerc went off because of Checo, but Checo gained an advantage.
Right.
Checo got by Leclerc, and Leclerc lost 2 spots. So it's not like it's it's a wash because they both gained an advantage and whatever. Like, it's not even that. It was absolutely ridiculous that one was allowed to stand.
Right.
No,
I
dude,
agree.
there was a few other push you off the track moments as well that were nothing was done about them. That I thought was honestly a bit over. Man, it's hard, right? Because for forever we've been bitching about wanting the stewards to just stay out of it. But there's times when they really need to get in it because of consistency. They've penalized people at other times for it. So again, the main thing we've always wanted was consistency.
Right.
But like here, where let's see, here we go. If I can get it on there. There we go. Max and Mick, which by the way, which we'll get to Mick, but Mick was incredible. And yes, Max was damaged, but still, he did great going wheel to wheel with Max. And you can see it right there. He was directly on side of him. And Max drove him right off. I mean, there was nothing to be said about that. And then come the last corner, Max slams the door on him and forces him to back out so he doesn't wreck both of them.
Right. Slam the door.
Dude, he slammed it.
Yeah.
I mean, Mick played it beautifully, dude. Coming into the Vale chicane, he went for the over-under, and it worked. And he had him. He had him going into, what is that club, that last turn. And yeah, dude, all of a sudden, Max decides you're not having this. You're not getting it. And Mick, Mick did the right thing. He backed out and he finished and he scored his points. But it wasn't the cleanest of pinches, we'll call it.
No, I mean Max was getting his elbows out and protecting his spot for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he wasn't too happy about going wheel to wheel with a Haas.
I don't even think it's that, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't think he sees it like that. I just think he sees it. All the cars just assume be gray. They're not his car.
It's just somebody else.
Yeah. And I truly think that's how he views it.
Yeah.
I
don't doubt that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Clearly from some of the other stuff, they wasn't calling anything, the stewards, but
no, they weren't.
What are we gonna do? I mean, we'll just have a whole episode during the summer break, and we can all just bitch about the stewards and the race directors and whatever the hell is going on with that.
We might need more than one episode for that.
Yeah. Lily freaking out. 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yeah. Happy 4th.
The fireworks are going crazy in my neighborhood right now. She's not digging it.
Yeah, I could hear him in the background a little bit ago.
But yeah, look, man. Max took damage, but he did what he always does, and he gets the most out of it. Not unlike Hungary last year. Was it Hungary? Yeah. When Valtteri went bowling for Red Bulls.
Yeah.
I mean, his car was demolished, and he drove it back into the points.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But shoot, man. He again minimized the damage, damage limitation.
Yeah. All right. What?
A terrible Red Bull weekend, and they come away with 2nd and 7th. In a weekend where halfway through the race, we're thinking, man, they might not get any points this week.
Look what good strategy calls does for you.
Yeah. They pit at Max like 3 times.
Yeah.
But
man, I'm not sure where to go next. What to pour next? Decisions. Tell you what, you on a Buffalo Trace kick tonight? I might join you on that.
Go ahead. The Colonel.
I think we're gonna go. We're gonna break out the single barrel. It's 4th of July.
Ooh.
Oh, we'll celebrate.
Very nice.
Oh, E.H. Taylor single barrel. Ooh,
Roger that.
We got to be careful with this bottle.
I know.
It's getting a little too low for my liking.
That's a 1 pour a night deal.
Oh, dude, it's
whenever you do break it out.
Yeah, and it's not very often.
No. But look, man, we didn't get to see what Russell had in his car this race. I would imagine it would have looked very similar to Lewis.
I think so, yeah.
But we had a feeling that the Mercedes would be strong this weekend. To be honest, I think Ferrari made them look a little more competitive than they actually were with their terrible management of the race.
Oh, without a doubt.
But nonetheless, I mean, I think it was the best that car has looked all year.
Oh, it absolutely was.
And I believe Lewis snagged the fastest lap right there at the end, didn't he?
Yes. Hang on. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
He did, yes. Snagged it by 0.3.
Yep, on last lap, the very last lap.
Yeah, 52.
Which, to be fair, it was over Carlos. It was about 0.3 over Carlos, which Carlos set on lap 44.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, Carlos wasn't pushing at that point in the same manner. Which there was no need to.
No.
The crazy thing
is
Charles set a 1:31.2 on the last lap, which was his fastest lap on those absolutely wrecked tires.
Yeah. Well, and let's see. Let's see. All right. No, never mind. I had something pop into my head, but when I looked, it wasn't the case. But yeah, man, I mean, overall, regardless of why and how, Mercedes, they look good. Or let me retract that. Lewis looked good.
Right.
They did a good job, man. Regardless of why they were where they were, they did good. And they kept it clean, or Lewis kept it clean, and he pulled it out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he was always there. He was always putting pressure, while Ferrari was there dicking around with each other. letting the drivers sort it out like a bunch of morons.
Yeah.
He was just putting in burner laps. I mean, at that point of the race, he was when Charles and Carlos were fighting each other, he's just putting in fast lap after fast lap and running them down, man.
Yep.
And that stint right there is what kept him in the race.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a legitimate chance to win that race at that point. Now, once Ferrari finally got their head out of their ass and let Leclerc get by, he kind of started to put himself out of reach throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah.
And Lewis wasn't going to be a challenge to him. However, I think it was going to get dicey between him and Carlos because of the tire advantage that he had allowed himself over Carlos.
Yep. I think it was gonna end up playing out to that. It was gonna be Lewis catching them, and could Carlos still hang on those older tires? Is the way it was looking.
Right. But no, I mean, look, all in all, like I said, I think it was their best showing so far this year
in
terms of pace, in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah, hey, it was a good place for them to do it too, at the home race.
Well, and like I said, I mean, we always had a feeling that they were going to be strong just based upon what we saw at Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
That car is very strong in those high speed sweeping turns.
Yep. Yeah. That car looked really good going through like Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah.
Those style turns does suit it well. And you didn't really, dude, honestly, I don't think other than maybe a mention or two about the lack of, didn't really see or hear much about porpoising this race. It was there, but it wasn't really a big thing with anybody.
Well, and that was also to be expected. It's not one of these tracks where you got these super long straights. And I believe 2 years ago it was completely resurfaced. So it's a relatively smooth track.
Yeah,
now
it is smooth
to where you don't have those natural bumps that initiate the porpoising.
Right. But you've got enough speed to where it should have presented itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's been so much focus on the porpoising that I do think a lot of them have made some progress, which is why we didn't see much of it. There's enough speed here. Yeah, it's not the ridiculously long front straights,
mm-hmm.
but there's enough speed here to where, and again, there still was some. You could see it, especially some of the side angles of the cars. Mm-hmm. You could see it going through like Maggots and Beckett's or even Cops, where you could see the car going through the turn,
mm-hmm.
and you could see the bouncing. But it didn't look like it was really an issue for anybody of any sort this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it is strictly because it's a smooth enough surface and none of the teams were suffering from the bumps that seemed to initiate the whole thing, or if they're just getting a better handle on it, one way or another, it was nice to not have that play such a role.
Right. All right. Let's keep it rolling here. Moving on down to Fernando and Alpine, who Charles just had enough at that point and said nobody else is getting by. And honestly, man, like if they make Checo give that spot back, he may not get by, because right about that time is when Charles kind of got those hards back fired up and wasn't hemorrhaging time. And his time started to match both of the guys in front.
Yep.
So Lewis is damn lucky that Checo did what he did, and Checo's damn lucky that they didn't make him give that place back. But by the time Fernando got his nose up Leclerc's rear end, it was done. He had his tires back under him, and I'm telling you, I don't think he was going to allow anybody else past.
No,
he just they had that look about him. Like, I think Fernando made one good run, and Leclerc was just like, nope.
Yeah, ain't happening.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to finish this race, bro, you better stay where you're at.
And dude, I mean, as is evident from previous laps to that, but as also has been evident in previous races, dude, it's not easy to pass Charles.
No.
Go wheel to wheel with that dude, and look, let's be real. I mean, chances are you're going to lose. Alonso's got some tricks up his sleeves, and Alonso is probably of the few on the grid that could really give Leclerc a run for his money, I think. But he tried to, and it didn't work. So maybe he's really not in the few.
Well, it was just, it was one of those things where, Fernando's got to be thinking points too, and he wasn't like that much quicker than Leclerc. It wasn't like he was a ton faster than Leclerc, and he couldn't, he was just like all climbing all up the back of his rear wing.
Right.
There was a couple places where he could kind of get a little run on him, but he really wasn't quick enough to make anything stick at that point.
Yeah, and like you said, you got to think about points. I mean, at that point in the race,
at that point, I think at that point you had 2 laps left by the time he got on him.
Yeah, if you think you get a run, you try it once, maybe twice, and then if you can't make it happen, you need to just accept what it is and take the points that you got, and not risk it. Obviously, barring anything happening and some huge door opening up, but yeah, you've got to make the smart decision if you can't get it done after 1 or 2 tries at that point in the race with 2 laps left.
Mm-hmm.
Not worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ocon DNF'd.
Yeah, he did.
I forget off the top of my head. He was the last DNF. Was it just from damage that he had to do it? Eventually he had to retire it? I forget. He did. He made 37 laps.
Yeah.
Just when it finally just run out.
I'm trying to remember. Man, I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't exactly.
They kind of had so much stuff going on.
Dude, it was hard to keep tabs on everything.
I know, man.
Yeah.
But
nonetheless, that's right. Yeah, he came to a stop on the straight.
That's right. He's the one that calls the safety car.
He calls the safety car.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how we forgot that, but
I know.
Yep.
Yeah, and just, I mean, look, he destroyed Charles' race, but he caused us to be treated to some of the best wheel-to-wheel racing we've seen by multiple cars in a very long time.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I mean, it was just absolutely nonstop up and down the field for that last sprint to the checkered flag.
Yep. Because we went, what was it? Green flag went on lap, was it 40 or 42?
Something like that.
It was
like
10 or
12 laps.
10 or 12 laps.
Yeah.
And it was just on the edge of your seat the whole time. That was absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, we can thank Ocon for that. We can thank Ocon for Carlos getting his first victory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we know that wasn't going to happen otherwise without that safety car.
And even with it, to be honest, it still shouldn't have happened because Ferrari's dumbasses should have pitted both of them.
Yeah, truthfully, yes.
And I mean, maybe he winds up getting Charles, but I doubt it just from what we've seen previously in the race.
Right. I don't think it would have happened. I don't think.
No. And then there is Lando.
Yep.
In the team alone again, it seemed like.
Man,
all weekend.
Yeah. Ricardo kind of dropped back off, man. He was starting to look like he was kind of back. You know, he was either right up there or ahead of Lando for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
we went 2 or 3 races in a row finishing ahead of him.
Yeah. This weekend was kind of right back to what we've seen from Danny Rick for the most part of this season. You know, just not there yet again. You know, I was starting to think he kind of got a handle on the car and was getting it figured out, feeling comfortable. I don't know, you know, if what it was this weekend. You know, could they not get his setup right, or you know, who knows? But or was he? Was his head not in it? No telling. But he wasn't there. You know, and it looks more and more like it might be coming to that time where we might not have a Danny Rick on the grid next year, to be honest.
Man, I don't know if it's that simple. I'm going to be honest, at this point, I think he is going to be there unless they replace him with somebody from inside of the, you know, I guess their team currently.
Well, I mean, he has shown that he still can do it, right? I mean,
bro, that in my opinion, for what you're paying for, that's ridiculous. You know, like you're paying top dollar for Danny Rick. You could get that kind of inconsistency out of a freaking rookie that they're paying you. You know, his sponsors are paying you to get in there.
Right.
So, but I think I'll be honest, man. I personally think with Pierre signing for back with AlphaTauri this soon, I think that says that Danny Rick will be back next year and Lewis will be back next year.
I do think Lewis will be back next year.
Yeah.
I'm still up in the air about Danny. I don't know. You know, from the team perspective, you know, it's
well, his contract is good until
I think the end of next year.
The end of next year.
Yeah.
There's an option for him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what kind of writing's in there in terms of if the team can cut him early
based on performance or something
right.
like that.
But
Yeah.
with this day and age, like we see it all the time in the NFL, what they call dead money, where there's a player that they no longer want on the team, or they retire, they cut, they trade, whatever. They trade via a different route. Like after a certain point in time, to where you're still responsible for X amount of dollars of his cap.
Yeah.
Of his cap hit. But now with this new era of F1, I know that the drivers' salaries don't go towards the cost cap, but there on a lot of these teams, there's already a significant financial strain.
Yep.
And I don't think they'd be okay with their with just forking out, getting him out of that seat, putting somebody else in, but still having to pay,
right,
10 mil or whatever he's making a year.
Yeah.
I can't see that happening. It maybe at a Mercedes or a Ferrari or a Red Bull, but that's about it. The rest of the teams, I don't think they can stomach that.
No, I don't think so. Well, and then, look, on top of that, there are talks of a salary cap for the drivers as well.
That's stupid. It's so stupid. Give it a rest with all that crap, man. Like, why? They also made the stupid decision to not have freaking tire warmers anymore after next year. And it's
I knew you were gonna love that one.
It's like, freaking why, man? And I know your argument, and I get it. I do. I get it. But I just think that in the most technically advanced motorsport sanction in the world, why do we want to take that away? Why do we want to constantly try and bring these drivers down and not just let them go to the limit? Because it seems like that's what every rule or every regulation change is trying to do, is take them away from the limit.
It takes them away from it for a few laps, and it's going to show who's, I shouldn't say it's going to show, it's going to require them to learn how to generate the heat. Whoever can generate the heat the quickest is going to shine. And I get your argument as well, and I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to what you're saying.
Look, it's
I just don't take an issue with it.
How long have tire warmers been a part of F1 now? 30 freaking years?
Like, probably every bit of it.
At least? What the hell, bro? Like, obviously it's an old technology, but they're getting, it's go mess with something else. I mean, for real. Because what's going to happen is, like you said, okay, the ones that are better at generating heat are going to shine. But you're still not going to be able to generate heat in the pit lane to where when you re-enter the track, aside from your initial burnout leaving your pit stall. So you get something what happens like in Bahrain this year in the first race, and like when Hamilton came back on the track on those hard tires at night, and those things were like blocks of ice. And it's not necessarily something you can simulate in that situation, because they were running at night. They were running in different temperature conditions than they have ever practiced in. You can't simulate things like that during qualifying, which is typically about the same time as you're going to be racing. And you just can't. I feel like something it's going to cause unnecessary issues in terms of crashes and potential injuries and things of that nature.
Well,
You
I
know,
mean, I do agree that it could potentially cause an issue. You know, when you throw a guy on ice cold tires out of the pits, and if you don't get your gaps right with, you know, when you call him into the pits and he gets stuck in a couple cars that have been out for a while, you know, yeah, I mean, I could see the concern. Um,
like if you're
you know,
racing
if he's
somebody
sliding
and
all
then
around, you
yeah,
know,
like you're racing somebody and then you both go through your pit stops. When you come back out and y'all are wheel to wheel, these guys aren't going to be willing to concede until their tires come up to temperature.
they
That's not the
might
way they're
have to.
programmed. That's not the
No,
way they're programmed.
it's not, but they might have to reprogram because you
And,
just can't, you know.
then why are we doing it? That's my whole point. Then why are we don't?
Well,
That should not have to happen.
It's going to equalize when that other driver comes back into the pits. You know, he's
No,
not going to be able to push
that's the
on his
equalization
outlaps.
point.
You know,
It's freaking stupid. It's dumb. It's stupid. You're not going to change my mind. We'll
I'm
get
not
into it
trying
later
to.
on the next
Yeah,
on the summer break
yeah.
episode.
No, I mean, I'm not
It's freaking
against.
stupid.
I'm not against keeping them. I just don't have as much of an issue with getting rid of them. All right, let's move on down
Moving
the
on.
line. Let's talk about Mick Schumacher and his first points in F1.
And look great doing it. How about
And
coming from
yeah,
P17 or
right.
P19?
Not only first points for Mick, but a double points for
Yeah.
Haas. K-Mag finished in P10.
Yep.
But man, so all in all, a fantastic weekend for Haas.
Yeah, they started P17 and P19.
Yeah, come in
Mick,
8 and 10.
Mick was P19.
Yep. Come in 8, almost 7.
Almost 7.
Almost 7. Almost 7.
Call it 7.5.
Yeah, right.
Let's see, what was his actual fin? Because they finished wheel to wheel.
He had to back out pretty significantly.
No, he didn't. They were 2/10.
He had to back out pretty good.
There's 2/10 difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But man, I mean,
the gap was like 2 10,000ths.
Yeah.
Going into club.
Right. But yeah, and look, dude, I mean, Mick gave it everything he had, and Max did just enough to keep him behind.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the opposite, I guess, of what we were talking about earlier. Like, he just didn't have, like, he was clearly faster. Clearly faster. I don't know if it was just in the wrong points or if he just, the few spots that he really tried to make it stick, Max wasn't having it.
Well, what I don't remember, I think part of it was he just didn't catch him with enough time left.
Yeah, that could be too.
Because I mean, he was clearly catching Max and was faster than him. I don't remember like what the deltas were. At what point did he really catch up to him? I know it was at least like the last 2 laps where it got some spotlight and they were kind of noting it and talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think he just wasn't close enough to where he had a shot any sooner.
Right. Yeah, I mean, either way, dude, good for Mick.
Oh yeah,
it was It was a hell of a drive. He put on he put on a great performance of wheel-to-wheel racing with Max.
Yeah.
You
He
know,
sure
I mean,
did.
dude, he looked great, man.
Yep.
They were going at it, going back and forth in some dicey areas, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I thought it was great, man. Good for him. He got the monkey off his back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He finally got them first points.
finally did it.
You know, and
And
I'm curious to see now that, like you said, now that he got that monkey off his back, I'm curious to see what he does moving forward. Right? Are we going to see a different Mick?
well,
You
look,
know,
dude, last week, in Canada, or 2 weeks ago, in Canada, he retired from P7
yeah.
and looked
Mm-hmm.
strong. Had a great qualifying performance and looked really strong.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I
so
mean, he's been right there, and he's been points capable many times now.
mm-hmm.
I think prior to this weekend, I think Canada was his best chance prior to having to retire. You know,
Right.
every other race he was, you know, P8, P9, 10, something like that, and then in the last, I don't know, you know, call it 10, 15 laps, he just kind of slowly got gobbled up and
Yeah,
knocked out
having
of the
dead
points.
tires for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. You know, I think Canada was prior to this weekend his best showing and best, you know, what looked like his best chance to actually score those points. And then obviously that didn't work out. So yeah, man, super happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, great showing for Haas in general.
No doubt. Even though there was so much, I guess, drama and interesting stuff going on at the front,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that there was hardly any coverage anywhere outside of the top 3
Yeah,
for
pretty
most of the
much.
race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there wasn't much for sure.
It was, I mean, even Lando barely got any airtime,
Yeah.
which is stunning. Especially considering it seemed like there was almost an equal amount of Lando fans there as Lewis fans.
Oh, I think there absolutely was.
In terms of like the swag that you could see in the stands.
Yep. Yep.
But either way, great job, Haas. Gunther will be happy
Oh yeah.
for at least 3 or 4 days. Right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I guess man, you know, normally it's regardless of what it is Gunther's saying, it's normally very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually even more so entertaining when he's pissed off, which is more times than not. I didn't get to hear the radio transmissions on the cool down lap with Mick and any of them, but I'd imagine it was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember, did I read where Karina was there and on
Yeah,
the
she was
radio
there.
talking to Mick?
Yeah, his
Karina,
mom.
yeah.
Yeah, she
She
was there.
talked to Mick on the radio on his cool down lap.
Oh, really? On the radio? I didn't hear that.
I'm pretty sure I saw where they had said that. I haven't gone back to look and try to find it, but yeah, I thought I
know
saw
her
that.
and Mick's sister were there, and Mika Hakkinen. I saw a thing where Mika Hakkinen
Yeah.
would congratulate him and had a little talk with him.
Yep.
Pretty cool. Happy for Mick.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Aston Martin, dude. I mean, what do we think? Like, Seb got points.
Yeah.
Stroll barely missed out.
Mm-hmm.
But like, really, nothing. I don't know. Like, it just didn't look great. You know, I mean, in 10 laps of running after the safety car,
Yeah. Well, I
Seb
mean,
was still 4 seconds behind Mick.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they just kind of fell into it. Like Seb ran clean.
I don't
Stroll.
feel like he did. I feel like they
I
both kind of had
don't
bumpy
think
races.
he.
It just wasn't like.
I don't think he had any altercations or anything, huh? Am I missing? Am I forgetting something?
I feel like I just saw him mixing it up, and having some issues. Maybe not, but let's see how many pit stops.
I mean, I don't think because Stroll caught a little bit in that first lap. Didn't he catch a little damage there?
Yeah, he was involved in that kind of by no
Yeah.
fault of his own, just in
Right.
the wrong
Right.
place at the wrong time.
Yep.
But either way, man, Seb picked up a few more points. You know, good for him. Stroll barely missed out. Hey, they finished, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what was it here? Stroll was 11th.
Yeah.
14 cars finished.
Right. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you were at the back.
Yeah. At least you finished in front of Latifi.
Speaking of, how about your boy Latifi pulling it in the
I didn't even want to hear
Q3?
about it on the Q3.
Man,
like that.
I've been waiting on this. I've been waiting on it.
That was a product
for no reason other than to get you fired up about it.
Look, you ain't even gonna get me fired up. It was simply a product of he put down a lap at a place when the track was evolving at the right time. Whenever you have wet qualifyings, you always have people that get it wrong and get it right. So you're always going to have certain teams that do it a little bit better than somebody else, or maybe they don't make any mistakes, whatever. He gets into Q2. And then he puts in a lap right as the track is at its driest, but right before it starts raining again, where nobody else can improve, and is able to get into, typically there have been 4 cars behind him. If they'd have got that one more lap on that dry, it'd have been ding, 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 and he'd have been right there at 15. But, lucky for him, that didn't happen. It played into his hand, and he made it into Q3. Congratulations. And, one thing that bothers me, and it's not about him. It's about his situation that you see when, like, these guys get into Q3 and they only make one run. Like when these guys, that typically don't get there.
Mm-hmm.
They only make one run in that Q3.
Well, I mean, they're not usually planning for that additional run time, so they kind of don't know how to handle it.
Right, but like I get like the tire thing. Like typically they burn up their tires that they have allocated to them beforehand because they're not banking on making it to Q3. And then they get there and it's like, oh, we're just not going to run. Put on a set of scrub tires and go run.
Yeah. Go get after it.
What's the worst that could happen? You could be 10th or you could be 10th.
Yep.
What's that? A little fresh bottle Eagle Rare?
A little bit of Eagle Rare, man. I haven't drank Eagle Rare in I don't know how long.
Got one of those behind me too, a fresh one.
Yeah. I figured why not? Hanging with you on Buffalo Trace night after my scotch.
Mm-hmm.
I figured why not? Let's see. Here's the test. Wait for it. That was a good one.
Oh, was that a good one? It sounded incredible in the headphones.
Right. Dude, it has been a hot minute since I've drank an Eagle Rare.
That used to be your jam right there.
Oh, dude, when I first got into bourbon, like I could have just had nothing but Eagle Rare and been completely fine with it.
A lot of people feel like that. That's why it's so hard to find.
Yeah, right. I mean, and it's still great. Don't get me wrong. Like it is still great. But as my taste and palate has evolved a little bit, I have discovered many other things that I like equally or more.
Yeah, a lot more. So you might say that there's a certain BTAC that would probably be your favorite bourbon of all time.
I mean, I would love the chance to find that out.
Because I feel like that Eagle Rare is like exactly what you want out of a bourbon. It's just too low of proof. It's too down. The flavors are too kind of muted at that point.
Yeah. Eagle Rare in a 17 year and a barrel proof, man, I would love the opportunity to find out just how much I love it.
I mean, I don't know how bad you want it, but they got bars that'll have it.
Probably not Virginia bars.
Maybe so. You don't know.
Maybe so, but
it'll probably cost you the amount of
chances are
of it.
Yeah, but chances are I am not going to be willing to pay for it. I can tell you that.
I've seen Eagle Rare 17 in a bar. I know 2 bars around here that have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's over $100 a pour.
Oh, I bet, yeah. But dude, like in Virginia though, the way the bars are with a lot of that stuff, they enter the bourbon lottery just like I do. Now there are a certain number, however many bottles they have available for the lottery. Mm-hmm. They take X amount of those bottles, and those are set aside for the licensees.
Right. So, it's a different lottery.
They're
not competing against the public.
Exactly. But I think, the chances are probably still close to the same. Maybe a little bit better. But,
yeah,
they still have to try to win them in a lottery. It's not like they can be willing to pony up the cash and just buy them,
Right. All right. Do we want to talk about Williams?
Well, I mean, we pretty much just did with Latifi, and we covered. We got
into Latifi a little bit, but do we want to go into? I don't know. Do we want to get a little deeper in on them? I mean, Albon, he has actually shown some promise this year.
He has. He really has. Yes.
But man, I just don't know. Also, sidebar. Hearing through the pipelines that your boy Piastri is going to be driving Williams next year.
I had not seen that.
Nobody's seen it. I said I heard it.
Well, seen it, heard it, yeah. I that has not trickled in through my rumor mill.
That's because you don't go as hard as I do. Bro, let me tell you, I subscribe to Italian publications and legit copy the whole article and put it in Google Translate and then read it.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You know?
I don't do that.
That's
Nope.
how hard up we are for shit over here, dude.
Yeah, I mean, like I subscribe to a lot of stuff and get as much of it as I can, but I don't do that. I will give you that one. Yep. Now, what does your rumor tell you?
Albon's not going anywhere.
So, well, okay. So then the cash cow Latifi is in the hot seat then.
He's not in the hot seat. He's going to be going.
Well, it's not confirmed, so he's just in the hot seat.
Nah, it's from what I hear, it's as good as done. It's just not announced. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But just keep it in the back pocket there.
Yeah. Well, and I was just kind of wondering, because Piastri is the reserve driver for Alpine.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He'll be on a slingshot back to them as soon as Fernando hangs it up, or something happens with Ocon. I don't know. Like, Ocon's one of those strange guys, man. Like, he's been turning in solid performances. This year, he's definitely elevated this year, in my opinion.
He absolutely has.
But I mean, what's the ceiling with him? Like, you almost feel like you're at it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him progressing to a top team. Like, I don't see a world champion in the pipeline. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, where's he gonna go?
Here's my thing. Like, if you look at a guy like Piastri, all right, he's the one of the only guys to win F3 and F2 in his rookie year. I think the only other two are Russell and Leclerc. And so, like, he's I'm not going to say he's like that level of talent yet, but he has the potential to be. I think at this point you kind of know what you have with Ocon. And why wouldn't you want to pair that potentially transcendent talent with Fernando for a couple years?
I mean, that would absolutely be ideal.
Unless you just feel like Ocon's gonna be your long-term guy, your long-term just like steady as he is guy. Yeah. And you're going to have your other guy come in and he's going to try and set the world on fire. But I wouldn't imagine Ocon would be cool with that, having been there for as long as he has, and then have to play second fiddle to some young gun.
Well, and that's what it comes down to, right? Like, what conversations have been had? What is the plan for Ocon? And have there been conversations, behind closed doors where Alonso has alluded to, maybe having an idea in his head of how long he plans to be here? Does he have something in his head set of like, look, I only plan on being here for 2 years and then I'm going to hang it up? Or, I think there's a lot of conversations behind the scenes that would go into making that decision. I mean, obviously, it's not like it's made on a whim,
right?
But as far as which one he would stand to replace, I think depends on a lot of what conversations have been previously had with Alonso and what his plan is as far as where the team feels Ocon is and can and will be,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, personally, if it's me, I'm getting my young gun that I feel like has the potential to be my staple driver for the next 10 years
Mm-hmm.
in there with Fernando
Yeah.
and kind of having Fernando pass the torch and pass down some of the wisdom and some of the tricks of the trade. And, Ocon's
Yep.
going to view him as a threat. Fernando's not going to feel like that.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I feel like you could kind of always find another Ocon.
I think that's a safe bet. Yeah.
Like if you wanted to, if you had to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I don't know, man. I mean, it's not my decision. I'm just here to comment about it. So we're gonna put Piastri and Williams.
Yep.
Not confirmed yet, but just wait. All right. Next, AlphaTauri.
Yep.
Just an absolute shitstorm of a weekend for them.
Yeah.
I thought Pierre was going to shine this weekend. He got mixed up in that first lap incident through no fault of his own.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of screwed his day from the get-go. And then, man, towards the end, what was Yuki thinking?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
And look, that's what I was almost expecting to happen with the Ferraris at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Charles was. I mean, he was night and day faster than him, but than Carlos. But I think because of that damage that he had when he got real close, I think it was a problem.
Yep.
With the amount of downforce that cost him and how squirrely the car got. But that's kind of what I was expecting to happen to them too. And bro, I mean, I'm sorry, dude. That happening between teammates is unexcusable. It just is. I mean, you can't have it happen.
No, you cannot.
Like there's countless amounts of examples, whether it be DC and Mika, Ayrton and Prost, or Vettel and Weber, Lewis and Nico, Danny, Rick, and Max.
Yeah, I mean,
dude, it's knock it off.
Yeah.
That's not going to help anybody.
Nope.
I can't, like, I get it, right? Like, the last person you want to lose to is your teammate. But, at the same time, if the teammate behind you is a little bit quicker and he makes some bold, stupid move and you avoid it and just let him by, you almost look like the hero to the team. Yeah, he scored more points than you, but you look like you come out looking better to the team.
You preserved the car and had the team in mind.
Right. And saved both of y'all's asses.
Right.
So man, like I know that's not in their DNA, but like
I don't think. No, it's not in any of their
it's
DNA,
almost like
right?
synchronized though.
As a racer,
It's just,
right?
it's
Just
unnatural, but at the same
naturally, you're
time,
not going to want to. But these guys are. It is beat into their heads that this is a team sport. I mean, they know the teams care about the constructors title. So, yeah, naturally it's about their finishing position. But dude, it's been beat into their heads so much. Like they know that this is not about me. Now, what they do with that is the difference. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think Yuki is there enough, like there yet, to where in the split second of making a decision to make a move, go for a move, where he is also thinking about and considering the outcome for the team. Right? Like I don't think the thought process is that in depth.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. He's not there at all. And I think it's just, it's one of those things where it just takes time before you can actually think like that. It's like it's similar to the NFL, when these guys go from college to the NFL, that's what you always hear. The speed of the game is just different. And it takes them a long time. Gaps that they used to see and hit in college, no matter what position you're in, and you can make it happen. You can either fit the ball in that window as a quarterback or as a running back, you'd see that gap and you'd hit it and you'd break it through the line. Those windows close significantly faster in the pros. And that's kind of the, it always takes these guys a little bit of time to kind of start seeing the game in that way to where it slows down in their head. To where it doesn't just look like, holy shit, like I am outmatched here. Everything's happening way too fast. There's always like this time where all these guys say, like, all of a sudden it just clicked one day. And, I felt like I was seeing it in slow motion, or I was seeing it at the right speed. Like it didn't feel too fast. It didn't feel like I couldn't keep up with what was happening. And that once you get, and same thing with these drivers, like once you get to that point, that's when you can make intelligent decisions in the heat of the moment, right? It's not just react, or you see a gap, or you think you see a gap and you go for it, but that gap really never existed.
Everything becomes more calculated on a deeper level, right? I mean, like, look, these guys are calculated behind the wheel. They wouldn't have got to where they are if they weren't. But it goes to a deeper level when you can not only calculate the risk of this move, and can you make it, and can you brake that late, and will you be able to control the car braking that late at apex, where are you going to place the car on corner exit to be able to prevent the driver behind you from maybe pulling it over under, are you going to be able to put the car there? Are you going to be able to put the power down? All that stuff, right? They're all calculated. But when you can throw into that mix the team calculation and the team benefit, that's when you really got to that point that you're talking about.
Right.
And he's just not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bonehead move. It cost them both tremendously.
Yep.
I mean, Pierre wound up having to retire.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that kind of, like I said, that kind of stuff just can't continue, man.
Mm-mm. No, and I'm sure there are some
Like
stern words happening.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it's one of those things where, you know, like listen, you guys are free to fight. However, these are the rules. You do something stupid and take both of y'all out, there will be consequences. And part of those consequences may be y'all are no longer allowed to fight.
Yeah, and it's going to be just team orders from now on.
Yeah, we'll decide who finishes ahead of who if y'all are, you know, one before the other.
Yep. Yeah, could be.
Alfa Romeo, look, obviously we already talked about Joe.
Yeah. I mean, it was a double DNF. I mean, there's
wasn't good.
No.
Valtteri retired on lap 20.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm gonna shift gears here for a second.
Pulling out the big guns.
Yeah. Why not? First live stream.
Yeah.
I'll just try and do a little mini flight here of my Buffaloes. As you call him, George T. Stagg Jr.
makes it sound like it might be a B-Tech, right?
No.
Like it's not by any means, but you know, you throw the George in there and you know, it makes it sound maybe a little bit closer to thinking I've got my hands on one.
Yeah, this is 130.2 proof. I forget. I think this is badge 14.
Was that hang on. Stand
This is
by.
the one you have.
I think that's 13, isn't it?
Maybe so. I don't remember.
Dude, it's so hard. Why can't they just stamp it on the bottle?
Dude, just put it on. I know. Just put it on there. Quit making us have to go to Google.
Yeah, would you say it was
130.2?
Batch 14.
Yeah, I was right.
What is
That's the one you have?
Yeah, that's the one I got.
I also have here, I think it's batch 13, 128.6. I know I don't have batch 12.
Batch 13 is 128.4.
Oh, 4. That's right. I always mix that up because they're way to write it.
Yeah.
It's funky. Yeah.
So you've got 13 and 14. Yep. Man, we're
13's almost annihilated. So I'm trying to make it last a while until I get my hands on another one.
We're a bit behind, man. We got the latest we've got is batch 14. They're on 8 up to 18 right now. Was this past winter release.
I mean, we're behind, bro. Like I do my best down here. I got you that one, and it just so happened to be. I thought I was getting the next one, and it just so happened to be one that I already had. So I was like, I gave it to you.
Yeah,
I'll part it with it.
Yeah, so it's a we.
So, God, it smells so good.
Oh, dude,
this is
that one.
Honestly,
really,
I have
really
to
good.
say, like, I think Stagg Jr.'s. Granted, I have not tasted a B-Tac. I haven't had any of them. I would have to say Stagg Jr. is my favorite bourbon on the planet that I have had.
I'd probably have to agree with that.
It is just so good, man. I mean, it's just I get tons of just like let me get a little nerdy on you, but like black cherries, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like candied black cherries.
That batch is very, very heavy on the cherry. Yes.
It's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like you took some black cherries and sprinkled a bunch of sugar on top of them and put them in a skillet. With like a little bit of
that good.
with like a little bit of caramel and vanilla in there too.
Yep.
Just,
Oh yeah, dude.
I
That
mean,
batch is fantastic. No
just went
doubt.
super nerdy, but I mean, like, it's Stag Junior, dude. This is look. I'll say this. This is one that the hype is freaking real.
Oh yeah,
Look,
absolutely.
I've seen people pay obnoxious prices for this thing right here, this Buffalo Trace.
Yep.
That's a $20 bottle of bourbon down here.
Yeah.
$23.
Yeah, that's ridiculous to do that. For a Stag Junior, it's a little more understandable.
Stag Junior is the one. Look, Blanton's great bourbon. We've had this discussion on here before.
Yeah,
but
the hype is a bit over.
The hype is overrated. It's great.
Yep.
Like I said, it's great. Love it for what it is. It's awesome. It's not worth the hype that it carries. It's not worth paying over MSRP for. Stag Junior is a heavy, heavy hitter.
Yes.
It's the Mike Tyson of bourbons, dude. Like, it costs $55, $60.
Yep.
MSRP, and you could blind it against some shit that costs double or more of it, and it'll destroy it.
It's gonna win by far, by a landslide. Mm-hmm. And it's not super old. I mean, it's 8 to 9 years. Stag Junior.
Yeah, it's not super old, but to me,
that's a really good spot, though.
That's a good spot because I don't particularly care for something that's super oaky. And like, once you get into that 12, depending on the distillery, you really start flirting with a fine line.
Yeah.
Of too much.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's what also kind of concerns me about, like the Saz 18 or the Eagle Rare 17. Like, maybe I wouldn't like it as much. I mean, a regular Eagle Rare is 10.
Well, Eagle Rare is 10, and it's oaky to begin with. It's a much more oak forward. So yeah, dude, that's hard to say. I would sure love the opportunity to find out.
Mm-hmm. So to wrap up the teams, anything else you want to jump into? Anything we missed?
I think we about got it all.
I think Lando looked great, man. I think that car is a disaster this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make sense where it's good, where it's not good. There's no pattern. There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been kind of all over the place.
It's unpredictable.
Yep.
And Lando drove a great race.
He did. Again, he did. He had a few where he was not really on the same pace that he normally carries.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, yeah, I mean, he put on a typical Lando showing.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I thought all in all, this was a outstanding British Grand Prix.
Oh, dude, it was. I mean, as far as
Silverstone always delivers.
It always delivers some great racing, but this one in particular, as far as the entertainment goes, it was stellar.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely stellar. It sucks that some of that, as grim as it sounds, the wrecks and all that does bring a level of. I feel bad using the word entertain. I don't want to use the word entertainment, but I don't know really what
it's
other words
eye-popping.
to use. Yeah, and it sucks that.
And it catches headlines.
It's a headline. Yes, it's a headline thing. And it sucks that happened. It's great that nobody was injured. It's a it speaks huge volumes for the safety that these cars have now. The Halo specifically, especially with how many people were against it to begin with.
Right.
It has proved time and time again, as we said in the beginning, it's proved time and time again how valuable it is. What we didn't talk about on the topic of the Halo was in the F2 race this weekend at Silverstone, the Halo proved itself in saving a life.
So I didn't get to see that, but do you have that video handy?
I can pull it up here, and actually I can put it on here. Let's see if I can find it real quick here.
But man, look, dude. I mean, you can't say enough about these Halos. I mean, what are we at? Like realistically, probably being modest 6 lives that these things have saved.
Yeah,
just in F1.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You got just recently. You got Joe. You got Hamilton, Grosjean, Leclerc. I know there were some other ones that I'm missing, but like Leclerc, in 2018 when he was with Sauber, when I think it was Fernando that somebody got up in him on turn 1 after right at a start and kicked him up in the air and slid straight across the top of Charles.
Yep.
And had the Halo not been there, Charles wouldn't have a head.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then Max and Lewis.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to find the video that I saw earlier. I'm trying to find that specific one. Because that one showed it.
Oh,
great.
I know what we want to talk about. Williams running essentially two different cars in practice.
Oh yeah. Hey, hang on. Here we go. I got it. Let's see. Let me put that on here. Let's see.
Oh, Mr. Technology over here.
Yeah. See if I can share this.
Yeah, I know a lot of the drivers were pretty outspoken against it initially. But
yeah.
I mean, Jesus, man. What an invention that turned out to be at the right time.
Oh, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. All right. Here you go.
Don't put sound on it.
Sausage curb.
Oh,
I mean, dude.
Smokes, that's unbelievable.
You take that Halo off of there.
Oh, my God.
And he is decapitated.
Oh, my God. That is unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that was...
Holy shit. I can't believe what I just watched. Dude, he torpedoed into him because it was freaking sausage curbs. What are we still doing with those sausage curbs on these tracks, man?
They serve no purpose. As far as I'm concerned, no purpose whatsoever. Absolutely zero. All they do is make
cars fly.
Yeah, they make cars fly, or they cause unnecessary damage, unnecessary wrecks.
I mean, like, that would have been a bad wreck regardless.
Oh, it would have been, no doubt. But it would not have been the car flying in the air across the guy's helmet like that.
Right.
Or what would have been his helmet without the Halo.
Yeah. God, that's unbelievable, man.
That
is scary as shit. That's the scariest one I've ever seen.
That would have been neck snapped, instant death had it not been that Halo.
Neck snapped. That'd have been head probably 150, 200 yards away or stuck onto the front of that other car.
Yeah. Quite
Good
possible.
God, man,
Dude,
that was insane.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Yeah, dude, that was rough. So there
For
was
anybody that just catches this on the podcast, go catch that on the YouTube page because that Jesus Christ, that's insane.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into real quick here. Let's jump into next week. We got July. Yep. July is busy, man. We got races every single weekend in July.
Yeah.
4 in a row, which I don't recall that happening before.
Not 4.
Not very recently, if it has been.
Yeah.
But next week we got Austria, which it's Red Bull's home race, and damn it, have they been strong there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know, like in terms of this track layout.
Not to cut you off, but just to backpedal a little bit, there is 2 weeks between Austrian and then French Grand Prix.
Is there?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep. July 10th is.
Wait, do we have 5
Austrian,
weekends in July?
And then the French Grand Prix is the 24th. So there is. We do have 5 weekends in July. Yes.
That's why.
Yeah. So July 24th, and then Hungary is the following weekend.
France.
So we've got
Great Britain, Austria, France. Yeah.
We got 2 back-to-back, a week off, and then 2 back-to-back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
it's not 4 in a row. I thought that was strange when I saw that, but I didn't realize we had 5 weekends in July.
Yep. So tell you what we didn't touch on real quick. Now we're kind of bouncing back and forth here. Let's talk about real quick. Let's talk about what our predictions were from the previous episode on this race. So I had a Ferrari 1-2. Dude, I had this queued up.
Right.
Ferrari, you screwed me on my prediction here. Like I was going to take the cake on this one because I had Leclerc, Sainz, Max.
Well, you weren't going to. I mean, look,
Max. I was going to take the 1-2.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good with 2 out of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Leclerc, Max, Sainz.
Yeah.
I stood to win between the 2 of us. You screwed me, Ferrari. Oh, man. Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Look, dude, Austria next week. I think it's a cool track. I think it always sets up for. There's always a lot of overtakes there. So that should be fun. That should be entertaining. Like I was saying, Red Bull has been very, very strong there. However, I don't.
They do call it the Red Bull ring.
Yeah, but man, like I don't know because it's got a lot of straights, right? But none of the straights are overly long, so it really doesn't give Red Bull that decided advantage that we've seen them have over Ferrari on some of these tracks with these really long straights, where they can really put that straight line speed advantage to use, because Ferrari is actually quicker at getting the top speed.
Yep.
So these shorter straights and with these 90-degree or more turns, I don't know, man. Like this track might lend itself to Ferrari it in a, I guess, more so than what we would have initially thought. I think it's gonna be. I mean, look, every single one of them has been like extraordinarily close when it comes down to just actual lap times.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, man, I don't know. I think it's going to be an awesome race, dude, because I think I think Red Bull isn't obviously like they've shown to have maybe a better race car. We still have yet to really see it. Since we think Ferrari has brought upgrades to kind of combat that, we still have yet to see it play out because, Sainz got caught out by a gust of wind when him and Max were going at it and, slid it off the track and Max got past him.
Yep.
And then he had damage and gave the place right back. So we still have yet to see it play out.
Right.
Hopefully this weekend we will. We have seen some awesome battles between Charles and Max at this track before.
Yes.
And this is the track, this is the race in 19 that changed Charles Leclerc. This is the one where Max booted him off the track. I would say a little less than politely, but it changed the way Leclerc went racing in F1. After this, he really became hard. He became that guy that was just
take no prisoners.
Take no prisoners. Absolute killer.
Yep.
So
the top speed of the Red Bull Ring at the moment is 203 point something. So it's not it's not your super high speed long straights. Just on a quick search, I didn't see what like the distance of the longest straight was, but I feel like it's gonna lend itself to pace wise. I think it's gonna lend itself a little bit to Ferrari, but I think more or less it's going to be very, very close between Ferrari and Red Bull. I don't see it being where Ferrari has to be concerned with the Red Bulls not blowing by them, but more or less blowing by them on the straights, with their top speed over those long runs.
Yeah, and I'm curious, man, if you may even see Ferrari finally look to have an advantage in the DRS department, being that the DRS zones here are going to be, used to see Red Bull really take advantage on the back end of these long straights with the DRS. But Ferrari having that significant advantage of the acceleration out of the corner and at the initial part of the straight, with it being, only essentially 200 miles per hour. I say only 200 miles per hour, right? It's not, there's not a car there that can't do that.
Right.
So it's all about getting there the fastest, which we know the Ferrari is superior in that department. So, man, I mean, shit, let's see. Look, I still think you're going to see Max. I don't know. I'll go ahead and jump into my prediction here. I think you're going to see Max win this weekend. I think you're going to see Charles second. I think you're going to see Carlos third. I don't know what to think about Mercedes this week. This is such a different track. It's really a unique track.
Well, look,
No,
let's be real though.
I don't know.
Take
Maybe
the
it's not. It's kind of similar to Bahrain.
If you, as far as the Mercedes pace goes, if you put Charles's front wing intact, you put Max and check, like if you put the Ferraris and the Red Bulls problem free, Mercedes is still looking at fifth at best.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I feel like Silverstone was kind of an outlier as far as their pace goes.
Yeah, I mean the track absolutely was conducive to their car. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how this
one's going to play
to it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine it'd be great considering it's a lot of straightaways. I think we may see the porpoising show back up in a nasty way.
It's possible.
But, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to lie. You kind of took the wind out of my sail with your predictions because you picked exactly what I was thinking. So just to be different, I'll just go ahead and flip. I'll just take the opposite as far as the first two goes, and I'll go Charles, Max, Carlos. I'll go that route.
I do think you're going to see I think we'll finally get to see some good wheel-to-wheel racing at the front this week, though.
Oh, dude, I think we're absolutely going to see the Charles and Max duel. Absolutely.
Yeah, I sure hope so, man.
Right? Like, we want to see that so bad.
I know. And that cars is so freaking closely matched. How can it not be happening every week?
Reliability problems.
Not even that. We didn't have none of that. All four of them finished this week.
Well, this week.
And it's just like bad luck.
This week.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just bad luck, man.
Yep.
Shit. But
all right, you got anything else?
I think we wrap it up, bro.
All right. Well, I'll close this one out with a quote from a local of the British Grand Prix. Good luck in most cases comes from the misfortune of others. Sure. Mr. Jackie Stewart.
It's very true.
Very true. Very true. And was very true this weekend as well. So, all right. So, man, that's it. That's going to do it. That'll wrap this one up. As usual,
live stream down.
Thank y'all for being with us. Our first live stream. If y'all didn't happen to catch it live, the podcast will still be out on Wednesday. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Find us on all social media, wherever you get your podcast. We're on there as well. So you can listen to it there. Catch some previous ones if you hadn't caught them before. And we'll see y'all after the Red Bull Ring.
Austria.
Yep.
Toto's going home.
Toto is home. That's right. So, all right. That's going to wrap this up. Appreciate y'all being with us.
Thank y'all.
Y'all have a good night. Yep.